have submitted the exam part. It is really interesting, actually. You know what? I'll just like to share what exactly I have seen there. And I'm pretty sure you have seen the results as well, your results. So you got a chance to compare that. So this is what I have seen. I'll just comment on this group results. I'm not really taking anyone's name over here. We'll just, you know what, talk on the total, what exactly happens in the group. The first, I'll mark it as test number 1 or test A, the first one. So it's called pre-test, and the post-test, test B. So what is the difference between these two tests, or what is the score range between this test? The first thing, the score range. The first test we had 0 to 60 was the score. That means some of the people got 0, some of the people got like 3, 4, 5, maybe like 60 marks, up to 60 marks. For test B, that means yesterday's test, the range was 21 to 57. Okay, so what you see here? What is the difference? Or is it an improvement? What do you think? Well, the first test we had a number of people with the 0 scores, and it is less than 20. We had a number of people. But when we look at the test number 2, there is nobody less than 20. It's the minimum score is 21. So 21 to 57. At the same time, the first test we had a number of people, like 1 or 2 people had like 60. And those people, when it comes to test number 2, its maximum is 57. And the average, test number 1, the average was 30 marks. 30 marks. The total it's 60 marks. So average was 30. And the second test, it was 42, I think. Yes, 42.2, something like that. So definitely there is a huge improvement in terms of average score. Okay, anyhow, so what I want to share with you today, it is pretty much the conclusion of the program stage 1. We call it stage 1. The reason for stage 1, for you, this is not the end of this program. For you, you have to be really focused on either it is a self-study or it's further training programs, whatever it is just a beginning for you. It's the beginning of your journey until you get a secure job or your goal. Some of you are degree students, you may be right planning for higher studies. It could be CAT or any other entrance exam you may have in your mind. So until you reach that goal, you have to be keep on with the preparation. And for like PG students, definitely they are looking for a job. So for you, the goal is your job, either through the campus recruitment or outside campus, doesn't matter. So your goal is your job. So until you get it, you have to go through this one. Okay, so and further, what we can help you, of course, what we can do is look at the materials. We upload the materials on frequent gaps or frequent like slots every 2 weeks, something like that. So it's when you look at the Walnut Training YouTube channel, you can see new videos, new topics. At the same time, you look at the website, there are materials as well, so you can look at that as well. Apart from that, there is something I would like to share with you. Let's just give me a second. I just, you know what, close this share. Okay, so this is something would I would like to share with you. In on the top of that, see that is the book, and this book, it has like 18 chapters. And this book, unfortunately, this is not available in the open market, but we'll have another book which is for especially for national and the state level competitive exams. Myself and Shiv Prasad sir, we are working on that. Once your college reopens, so we are not sure which is the date for that, but I hope that will happen in a few weeks of time. If the college reopens and around that 15,000 limit in October, and by the end of October, if the cases comes down, definitely we can expect a favorable decision from the state government as well. Central government has already said, okay, if you are okay, state government is okay, you can reopen the college and schools. That is what we have the green signal from the central government. From the state government, we can expect a similar kind of things by the end of this month or by the beginning of November. you see some kind of concrete decision from the government. So once the college reopens, you can expect this as well. That means not exactly this book. This is designed and this is planned for some other institute that is available only with that institute. But you can get a book which is useful for you, that is useful for many of the competitive exams, and will update you. So these are the kind of resources, these are the kind of, like, some of the resources are free, and some of the resources, if it is booked, it must be paid. So different things are available. Take advantage of it. And now I think Shiv Prasad sir is with us. And without taking much of the time, I would like to say goodbye. Before that, do you have any kind of questions from what we have discussed, or any other thing? Any kind of questions you have? Everything is good? All right, guys. It's my pleasure working with you guys, and I wish you all the best in upcoming endeavors. Bye for now. See you sometime later. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, good afternoon all. Okay, in our last session, we discussed some basic ideas related to percentages. One or two questions we asked from this area. Thank you, Givagisa. Okay. So today, this is our final session. So we have to cover some of the very important set of topics, questions asked from this area, percentages. And at the same time, we have to consider another one very important topic. If the time will allow us to do much more questions from other topics, we can consider another very important topic, that is time and work. So you already got some basic ideas related to the basic concepts related to the topic time and work from Givagisa. So what we are planning to consider is the questions which were already asked for various types of exams from that particular topic, because time and work and time and distance are two very important topics while we are considering this campus placement drives. Another one very important topic which we already discussed, that was numbers. And a lion's share of questions you can expect that as application of these percentage concepts. Out of this one, we already covered the topic profit and loss initially. Okay, so now we can move through the questions here. So this question, these two questions, I think we already discussed the first two questions, right? So what about this question? Whether we discussed it already? Please comment there. No, okay. What about the first question, this one? Now, last session, I think we discussed up to this one. Yes, okay. Now you can consider the second question. It's again from Amazon. Sir, strictly send that message as a private message. Well, you have to type the options which we got as the answer. You don't want to write the numbers there. It's an important understanding. I will share a very important hint to finding the answer for this question. Suppose we just consider if a quantity is increased by a certain percent. Suppose a quantity is increased by 10%. So X is increased by 10%. Is increased by 10%, which means X is increased to 2. So it's become 110%. So it's a very important understanding. If a quantity is increased by 10%, which means it's increased to 110%. Similarly, if a quantity is decreased by 10%, so that means X is decreased to 90%. What we are doing here, we are simply subtracting that 10 from 100. So these two usages are very important. You have to understand how this by become 2. Clear? So by 10%, increased by 10%, what do you want to do? You have to add that 10% with 100. Hence, it's become 110%. If a quantity increased by 25%, it's become 125%. If a quantity is decreased by 30%, it's become 70%. Clear? So it's a very important understanding. And then by using this idea, you just go through the questions. Now you can find the answer here. Try it. Amala, try again. Alan, try again. Okay, we can check who will find the answer at first. Ashish, try again. Again, try again. Okay, here how we have to do the steps here. If a fraction, so this one, Tripta, the right answer. Davis, very good, very good. You got the right answer. So you just consider the fraction as x by y. So what is the variation mark word here? It's numerator increased by 150%. What we discussed here, if a quantity increased by a certain percent, you just add that percentage value to 100. 150 plus 100. How you have to understand? It's become 250% of x. It's become 250% of x. And its denominator increased by 300%. So you have to add that 300 with 100. How it will become? So this is 400% of y. It is given that the resultant fraction is 5 by 18. 5 by 18. Okay, Renz, that's not the right answer. No problem. We can check it. Animal, we can try it. We can try it. So by simplifying these two values, you just consider. Anyway, here we know that percent of is common. This 250 and 400, we can simplify it further. So while we are simplifying this 250 and 400, this percent of are common because a percent of is simply means by 100. Then 250 and 400. This, while we are simplifying, this is 5 by 8. Put it 5 by 8. Because we are dividing both the values by 50. Yeah, Teresa, very good, very good. So from this step, you can find the value of x by y. So x by y, this is equal to 5 by 18. That was already there. into 8 by 5. Take the reciprocal of this 5 by 8. What will get? We can simplify these values. This is 4 times 2. This is 9 times 2. What is the resultant value here? 40. So that was the original fraction. Clear? So understand that point clearly. So R% increase means it's become 100 plus 7. Okay, now we can move to the next question. Yeah, consider this question. It's from Bajaj. This question. So try to answer it quickly. Then we can save our time. We can discuss more questions. I already told you I'm planning to discuss some more questions from the very important topic, time and work. If it is possible, if the time will permit us, then only we can discuss those questions too. So most of the students from the batch who are attending the session are performing well. In our last few more sessions, we got that inference. What do you need? Some more practice. Correct. You have to practice more, then you can perform well. Magically, you can perform well. So never miss the chance, because I know that it personally, because you're experienced with the students from different institutions. So at that time, we can easily identify that the strength and weakness of those students. Alan, very good, correct. In that sense, you are doing well. So if you have a little more practice, you can make a good score in your Aptitude set of papers or the test papers. That will create a strong base for your placement procedure. Okay, only Alan answered here. Any more? Try again. Try again. Amala, very good. Correct. Okay, now we can consider. So it is given that the ratio 5:7:8, 5 is to maths, 5, physics, 7, and biology, 8. You have to understand, you have the right to assume any set of suitable values which are satisfying this ratio. What kind of change, alteration were required here for finding this 40%, 50%, and 75%, these are values? What I'm going to do, I just put a 0 with each number. Means I'm multiplying all these ratio values by 10. That's our right. We can make that kind of an alteration with the ratio values. We are multiplying all the values by a constant for making the convenient step of operations further. And these seats were increased by 40%, 50%, and 75%. First, we just consider 40% increase. So we are increasing 40%. So 40% of 50, what it is, that's the next important point. 40% of 50, how to find out 40% of 50. So you have to understand, I will share some of the very important points here. Yes, very good. Okay. So 40% of 50 is 40% of 50. So you have to understand, you can make it in a reverse order. This is same as 50% of 40. So that means that's a golden rule in percentage. X% of Y is same as Y% of X. It's a very important understanding. X% of Y is same as Y% of X. Yes, we are correct. So while applying this concept, 50% of 40, you can easily find out what is 50% of 40, which is equal to 20. Clear? Which is equal to 20. So here we got the idea that it's increased by 20. The next point we can consider, so increased by 20 in the sense it's become 50 plus 20, that's equal to 70. Then the next one, 50% increment. So it's increased by 50%. As we know, we can directly catch what is 50% of 70. So 50% of 70 is nothing but half of that value, which is equal to 35. Hence, it is equal to 105. The last one, 75%. 75%. As we know, 75% is nothing but 3 by 4, right? 3 by 4. Clear. So 75% of 80. 75% of 80. So that means 3 by 4 of 80. How will become? That's equal to 60. So we are adding 60 to this value. Hence it is 140. These are the new number of seats, right? Then we are dividing these all values by 5. First, we know that all these values are multiples of 5. So when we divide these all values by 5, how it will become? This is equal to 14. This is equal to 21. This is equal to 28. The further observation, we know that these all values are multiples of 7. Further, we are dividing these all values by 7. What you will get? This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. Clear. So we got the final answer. That's equal to 2 is to 3 is to 4. That's it. Clear. So this way we can catch the answer. So there are another methods also for finding the answer for such a question. I will quickly explain that method so that you have to understand. Anyway, this is 5, 7, 8. You don't want to make any alterations in the ratio. Instead, if a quantity increases by 40%, which is the concept we discussed earlier, the same concept we are applying here. 40% increased means it's become 140% of 5. 50% increase means it's become 150% of 7. And 75% increase means it's become 175% of what? 8. So then find the ratio here. By observing these all values here, we know that these values are multiples of 5 and percent of are common. We just cancel all the percentage of values here. Then further divide these values. So this is when we divide these values by 5, or simply the values are 140 into 5 is to 150 into 7 is to 175 into 8. Clear? And simplify it. You'll get the ratio. There's another direct method for finding the answer for this type of a question. Instead of assuming those values are 50, 70, 80, you can apply this method too. This is the most easiest way, actually. Got it? Then further you are simplifying, which is a common factor for all the 3 expressions like that we are dividing here. Then also we'll get the same answer. Consider another important question. You have to understand this method. That's very important. Otherwise, what will happen at the time of exam, you may face difficulty. So the coming question from this percentages are not asked by any companies, but the important patterns I'm introducing here. Because you can expect lots of questions by using those concepts. Those are the important concepts from the topic percentages. Nobody answered yet. So it's a rare chance to answer at first. Elizabeth, try again. No problem, try again. Yeah, Joseph, very good. Ashish, very good. Elizabeth, very good, correct. Amala, correct. Yeah, Amala already answered. Okay, in such a question, that's an algebraic type of operation. First, you have to understand what you are going to find out. Here we are going to find out x is what percentage of y. X is what percentage of y means we have to find such a step. X by y into 100. So this is the understanding part here. X is what percentage of y. In such an arrangement, you have to catch this connection word of. So after this of, immediately which value will come there? So that as the denominator of this operation. X is what percent of y, or what percentage of y is x. In both the cases, we are keeping y as the denominator. This is our step. So we are trying to make the value of x by y from this given arrangement. Okay, that's the very simple step here. So this one, 20% of x plus y is equal to 25% of 2x minus y. You have to consider which are the common terms from both sides here. Percent of is common, percent of common, we are cancelling both the things. And 20 is 4 times of 5, 25 is 5 times of 5. Further, there is not any common factor, so we just multiply this value inside. This is 4 into x plus y, that is simply 4x plus 4y. And on the right side, this is 10x minus 5. So we are taking this 5y towards left side. Left side already 4y there. This is negative 5y. It's become positive 5y on left side. And on right side, already 10x there. This plus 4x, it's become minus 4x here, right? So that means this is 9y. This is 6x. For the convenience of our arrangement, I am arranging in the reverse order, 6x equal to 9y. Alex, very good, correct. Therefore, what is x by y? Because our required expression is x by y. X by y is 9 by 6, or its simplified value is 3 by 2. Then we can find out this one. So required percentage, that means x by y into 100%. That means 3 by 2 into 100%, which is simply 150%. That means you are framing a ratio between x and y from the given algebraic expression. So the answer is 150%. So understand the method clearly, because whenever you will get the similar type of question, these are the patterns which we can expect. Frequently they are asking for various agencies for various types of exams. Okay. And therefore, you have to familiar with this pattern, how to solve this type of a question. What is the exact objectivity behind this question? These all the points are very important. Otherwise, what will happen at the time of exam, we may face difficulty, how to develop an idea for solving and reaching the solution here, or the answer here. Okay. So this is the method. The answer is 150%. Consider a very important question. This is a most frequently tested question. Okay. This is one of the favorite questions by various companies. Even now also they are asking the same question with the same numerals. So take it as a challenge. We can check who will answer first. Jinder, try again. I told you it's a very important question. So that's the advantage of this type of a class session, because a very filtered set of questions, important questions you are getting here. And it's deep explanations also be available here. So you can make it as a fruitful experience, because by attending the session itself, maybe you can clear the exams. Ashish, very good, very good. Because while attending the session, you'll get some ideas here. That's the point I am mentioning. Tripta, try again. Suppose we just consider such an example. So now you are familiar with this question. Whenever you will get such a question at the time of your exam, if you have such a clear memory, Elizabeth, very good, amazing, correct. So if you have a clear memory, then you can easily recall the numerals which we discussed in this question. Fortunately, same question repeated in your exam. So that's a usual condition, because you may get the same question with the same numerals, same options, because this is the most repeated question in the history of competitive exams in India. Jyotisha, very good. The same question as in bank exam, IBPS, bank exams, Staff Selection Commission, Railway. So I'm not simply telling a lie regarding this question. So I noticed this question in these different agencies. When the placements are also, various companies also using this question for their test. So that's why it's an important one. So 68% of what? Here we have to consider the point. Equalize or equate the non-varying component. That's the mantra that we are using for this type of a question. So the mantra we are using, that is, I think once we already discussed a similar type of a concept. Equate the non-varying component. The same mantra we applied in some problems related to ratio earlier. Non-varying component. Okay, so there's a mantra we are using for this type of a question whenever we are making. Yeah, that's correct, Ashish. So whenever we are making a fresh grape as a dry grape, you have to understand there are two components in a fresh grape and dry grape. The components are, so 68% water. Water is there, water. Fresh grape, it contains 68%. Dry grape contains 20%. So what is the other component here? That is solid. Correct. So technically this is called the solid pulp. Okay, but we are simply understanding that's another form of matter, right? Water and solid. So if in a fresh grape, if there were 68% water, then the quantity of solid is the remaining. So that is 32%. And similarly, in dry grape, suppose we are considering the entire quantity of dry grape, it contains 20% water, which means remaining 80% solid. So you just consider the process here. A certain quantity in the sense here it is given as 60 kilogram. So that means 60 kilogram of fresh grape, 60 kilogram of fresh grape. So, and we are going to find out what is the quantity of dry grape formed from 60 kilogram of fresh grape. We assume that value as X. You just visualize that process. So simply you just consider 60 kilogram of fresh grapes. We are allowing it for the evaporation process, permitting the evaporation process. So like that, it's certain percentage of water content evaporated. That's a process. The solid particle or the solid mass in this fresh grape that exists as the same in dry grape. Therefore, in this context, we can consider the non-varying component is the solid part of this grape. Clear? Here, the non-varying component, that is the solid part. Get it? So we just connect it. So we have to equate these two values together. So that means this 32% of 60 kilogram is same as 80% of X kilogram. That's a simple logic. Means we are equating the non-varying components. So the simple logic, 32% of the fresh grape that still exists there after the evaporation process. And the new quantity of this dry grape formed from 60 kilogram fresh grape, it's 80% is that solid part. So therefore, from this step, we can easily find out X is equal to this kind of a step also familiar. What we want to do, percent of are common. So this is X equal to 32 into 60 divided by 8. Clear? We know that both the 0 we can cancel. 8, this is 4. So the answer is 24. So I already told you it's a very important question. With the numerals also, you have to by heart. Understand the method properly. Whenever you will get the same question with the different numerals, at that time you can apply this point directly. Instead of assuming trust all the things, that only for the explanation purpose, I just write those things on board, the circled part. So that's the important step. Okay, clear. So consider another very important concept. This is called successive variation. This you can easily answer. Alan, try again. So as an easy question, most of the time students make such a mistake. Be careful. Be careful, Elizabeth. Very good, Jyotisha. Correct. Alan, very good. Amala, very good. Correct. Yeah, very good. Correct. So this is the concept of successive variation. There is a very good. Yeah, correct. Very good. So understand the concept of successive variation. First, we just consider what is the normal way to find the answer for such a question. So we are assuming the initial price as 100 rupee. So it's increased by 25%. It's increased by 25%. So what is 25% of 100? That is simply 25. So it's become 125. Then further, successively, that means the second percentage applicable on this value, 125. So that is 20% decrease, 20% decrease. So now we are finding what is 20% of 125. That's a simple concept here. How to find out 20% of 125? We just consider what is 10% of 125. This is simply 12.5. 10% of any value. How to find out it? Take the decimal place one place towards left side. So therefore, 20%. 20% is nothing but 2 times of this value. That is 25. So you are going to subtract 25 from 125. Hence, the resultant is 100. You start with 100 and ends also with 100. That means no change. Correct. So this variation is called successive variation. So like that, 2, 3, 4, n number of variations you can expect. Clear? So there is an easy method for finding the answer for such a question. If a quantity vary by x%, then successively vary by y%, then the net variation can found by using this result, x plus y plus xy by 100%. We can write that as a result. If a quantity vary in the sense it may either increase or decrease. We are using that as a general result. Vary by x%, then successively vary by y%. Then successively vary by y%. Then the net variation is, right, that result, x plus y plus xy by 100%. Okay, so it's a magical result. It will help you a lot. You will get lots of questions by using this result. Here the important point, what you want to understand, it's increased, this is decreased. Increased in the sense you have to enter the value as positive. Here this x and y. If it is a decrease, you have to enter the value as negative. And how to read the output here? If the output is positive, which means that represents an increase. If the output is negative, that represents a decrease. If the output becomes 0, result is not changed. We are applying this result here. This is 25% increase. You enter that as positive 25. 20% decrease. Enter that as negative 20. Understand, here one value is positive and the other is negative. Therefore, the product become negative. That's a very important point. Okay. So here 25 into 25. Simplify it. Here 25 minus 20, that will be equal to 5 minus. By using this one, here we know that 25 4 times will make this 100, 5 times will make this 20. So this is simply 5 minus 5, that is 0. So the result is not changed. So this result is important. You can expect lots of questions by using this trick. So consider another important question. For conveying a very important approaching style, for that purpose only I just included this question. It's a model, a sample question, not the exact question. So whenever you are reading this question, how your brain cells will work. That's a very important understanding. Paulvin, very good, very good. How practically you are approaching this kind of an arithmetic question. That's a very important point. Donna, very good. Okay. As you learned the successive variation concept, maybe there is a tendency to apply the concept algebraically for finding the answer to this question. No problem, you will get the answer, but it may waste your time. Instead, what you want to do, you just simply go through the options. That's the better way here. Okay, you got the idea. What is the question asked? So here the question asked, the 600 becomes 726 after 2 successive variations of same percentage. We have to find out that percentage. Suppose we just consider the given set of options, a convenient percentage value. The first one, we are taking the first one, is a trial and error method. This is technically called the work back method. So you are taking this 10%. 10%. It's a universally acceptable method, right? So if you are going to write GRE, GMAT, these kinds of exams, so this is a strategical approaching style. This one also you have to practice well. Runs very good. So 10% it's increased. What is 10% of 600? That's equal to 60. So after the variation, it's become 660. Further, we are taking 10% as 10. Now it's 10% of 660. What is 10% of 660? That's equal to 66. We just add it together. You will get 726. Fortunately, we have the required value here, right? Assumption is correct. That's the answer. Finished. Correct. So if it is not working, then also it's worked. You got the idea. So approximation, which will be the most possible value, whether we have to increase it's up to 20%. That's the next second option, right? So like that, you can find it. So understand, if you are not well aware about the results behind a question, no problem. So you can apply your normal sense, practical sense for finding the answer. The very important thing is that you have to create a positive attitude towards the question. Means whenever you are reading or trying to interpret a question, always keep a positive attitude. That means it's in the form of a confidence. That means, yeah, it's a quite practical type question. I can manage it without any kind of additional results or formulae. Maybe it's a new topic to me. Even though that's not an issue, I can manage it. Like a confidence you have to create. That's a very important point. Now we can consider, I think one more question is there. Yeah, it's another very, very important question. Very, very important concept here. I just clubbed it with another one question. So usually this question asked in another percentage form. I will explain that point also. Alan, very good. Correct. So Similar one concept we discussed in the topic profit, loss, and discount. Same percentage of increase and decrease. Just try to recall that result. Same percent of increase and decrease. Very good, Jyotisha. Correct. Alvin, correct. Good. So that's a very important point. If a quantity increased by R%, then successive Amala, correct. Very good. So increased by R%, then successively decreased by R%. Then the variation is always R squared by 100% decrease. Here, the quantity increased, or whether the order doesn't matter, whether the first thing is decrease and the second is increase, that's not a matter. Okay, then the second variation is 10% increase. So what is net increment here? So up to this point only you will get the questions normally. That means you have to give the answer as this is 1% decrease. This is 1%, sorry. This is 1% decrease. Okay, that's a very simple type of question. So you can easily answer such a question. This is 1% decrease. But here we are extending the concept. And the number so obtained is 50 less than the original number. That means this is the decreased value. We are considering the second step. So 1% of the original value. Suppose the original value was X is equal to 50. Then X is how much? This 1% is nothing but 1 by 100 of X is equal to 50. Then what is this X? This is 50. 2 points you have to put here. Therefore, the answer is 5,000. Got it? So the first part is very important. You have to understand this result. This is always R square by 100% decrease. That's a very important point. Okay. So like that, you can find the answer for this type of. These are the very important set of questions. And you have to understand the concept which we discussed related to successive variation and this result. That we discussed about the linear variations, a quantity first increase, then decrease, or first decrease, then increase, like that. The same concept is applicable for the case of the product of multiple components. So remember that point clearly, product of multiple components. So successive variation is applicable in product of multiple components. Multiple components, such as expenditure. As we know, this is price into consumption. Price into consumption. Or the distance. We know that this is paid into time. Or the quantity of work. This is efficiency into time. In all these cases, we just consider if the price of a commodity is increased by 10% and its consumption is decreased by 10%. That's a usual question you can expect in your exam. Price of a commodity is increased by 10% and its consumption is decreased by 10%. Then what is the variation occurred in its expenditure? So there also we are applying the same result. This is 10 square by 100, that is equal to 1% decrease. Or similarly, if the price is increased by 20% and the consumption is decreased by 30%, then you can apply the earlier result which we discussed with 20% increase, 30% decrease, that is X plus Y plus XY by 100, that result. So in those situations, you can apply this result. Clear? So these are the important set of questions. Anyway, right now, means as part of this session, the time is not permitting us to discuss more questions related to the other topic, but keep these points in your mind: time and work, time and distance. These topics also, those are the other two important topics from the area arithmetic. The rest of all the very important areas we covered. So understand, we didn't discuss all the different varieties of questions here. So we just give a proper guideline, which way we have to practice it. But at the same time, I can assure that while you are going through the questions which we discussed inside the classes, you can secure minimum 60% marks in your aptitude test. So that's an assurance. The rest you can experience at the time of your exam. But don't take too much risk. What you want to do, you have to prepare a little more. Clear. And the materials which are available in our site, Walnut Trainings website. So you can access those materials. And there are lots of video sessions also available. You can utilize it. You can depend other agencies also. Means freely you just Google it. You will get lots of other materials or the previously asked questions. Simply type previous placement papers, then you will get some of the results there. So what you want to do, you have to keep such an attitude to prepare more for this exam. And you can freely contact us. Yeah, very good, Ashish. IndiaBix is one of the very important source. I think once I already gave that instance there. So IndiaBix is a very important site. You will get lots of questions, even from the reasoning, plus quantitative aptitude, data interpretation, data sufficiency, a mixed set of questions available there. So you have to practice it well and freely contact us for any type of doubts or assistance related to your placement drive. Okay. Right now we can wind up. Anyway, it's a wonderful session with you. Thank you all. Okay. And best of luck. Thank you.